banking.account reached. So if we don't do this, it's a variable. My bad. Set. Right? It's a variable. It's not insert into, right? No, Jordan, you're right. It has to be end exclamation sign. That was one thing. And since it's a variable, it is not another table that we're inserting into. It has to be set count rich equals to that particular value, right? Make sense, everyone? This particular code. Look at this code and tell me, and I want you guys to run this particular, let me just copy over this code to you guys. And I want you guys to run this particular code on your machine as well. And let me know if it works. Okay, cannot test on this machine. Okay, so now this works, but here we are using two aggregate operations, right? One is count, one is average. I want to now write this function that does the same thing, that is count the number of rich people in my account table, but without using any aggregate functions. So if you were writing a program, what would you do? And this is where we are going to basically talk about cursors, right? Cursors, if you remember, were an ability to go through all the rows, all the values of a row, and compute stuff from those rows, right? So if it was just a program, how would we do this? Can I just write a program that first computes the average and then counts all the people that have greater than average balance? Yes, no, does that logic make sense? First, write a part that would compute the average balance of all of the balances, and then write the part that is counting all the balances that are larger than average. Basically, I want to rewrite this program, but in a more weird way that does not use any aggregate functions whatsoever. Let's say that I am disallowing you guys to write any aggregate functions. What would be the logic of that? You guys are still testing on that one. Okay. Let's talk about cursors. So let me just go back to that thing. Anybody here who has not run this particular code yet? That is getting me the number of people using these aggregate operations. Any issues with this? Or if you're still working on it? Cool. Alex, check if there is basically, that means that your function has some error. More likely, because again, SQL does not give you good errors. So that basically means that your function had some error for compilation and your function was not updated. Could you paste your code right back to the Zoom window so that I can see? Do you have any like Syntactical errors. Did you miss any semicolon somewhere? There you go. Let me know if you have not done this yet or you are still working so that I can get an idea who is still working on it. Let's give you guys like 5 minutes. Okay, okay, take your time. I'll give you guys till 6:22 to try this out. Right, give you guys till 6:22 to try this out. Work on this particular thing, write this out. And for those of you who are done, think about rewriting this function using cursors, that so that I do not need to use the count star or the average aggregate function. Does that make sense? So let's give you guys till 6:22, and I am here. Let me know if you have any issues. Um, I remember somebody else had this issue. I remember some other student having the same issue. Is that student here who had the same issue, which had the deterministic error? That function had none of deterministic error. I remember another student had that issue. I think we fixed that by stating that this function was deterministic. Oh, that's way too much. I think it did not require that much. Give me a second. Let me find that. And that is usually a case that happens. Give me a sec. I'll just find out. Yes, so before your begin, found it. So before your begin statement, just have this as your statement. Like just say that it is deterministic like this. It should still work. Pranay. Yeah, that is something that we need to. Well, for some reason, your database is configured that by default, it expects your functions to be non-deterministic. You know non-deterministic functions, right? Get me the current date, get me the current time, get me a random number. For some reason, your database is set up such that it expects all your functions to be non-deterministic. I'm not sure, maybe it's a MySQL thing, but MariaDB expects all functions to be deterministic. Maybe it's that. Is your database MySQL for some any reason for any? I'm just guessing. Yes, maybe MySQL expects all functions to be non-deterministic by default. And so for those, you can just have that deterministic keyword there. It works fine with MariaDB as well. So you can have that. That is fine. Okay. So while you guys are writing it, I want you guys to also think about and write the same function, but without using the count and the average functions. Will you guys be able to do that? Who has no clue? Who will try it? Okay. Let me give you till sometime. I will try and write it as well. But let me give you till 6:25. Okay. First, let's write the function such that it finds the average number. Okay, so let's say that I want to write a function that finds the average number. So instead of using the average keyword or the average aggregate function, let's write it. So what do we need? We need something to compute the total balance, right? So declare dot balance. It is going to be of type numeric. Let's say 12,2. Let's say that the default is okay. So now we need declare done so that the cursor works. We need that int default 0. So can someone tell me why do we need a done variable while I write this? Declare cursor for exactly right.